portfolios play a very important part in shaping all of our activities and shaping professional development. So the first two sessions today, session 5.1 and 5.2, include narratives of the different stages of creating, assessing, and fine-tuning research offices. And we have tentatively classified those as early stages and mature stages. So session 5.1 gets off to a start where we look at some narratives from colleagues who are at more early stages of building their research offices. So we are joined today by three excellent colleagues, and I request Alpana, Srujana, and Derin to turn on their cameras if possible. Hi, Alpana. Warm welcome to the session. And Srujana, if possible as well. Well, never mind. We'll get started. So I'd like to first briefly introduce our speakers for this session. It's a pleasure to have Dr. Alpana Dave here with us. Alpana received her PhD in medicine from Flinders University in South Australia. And she then pursued her postdoctoral research first at the University of Calcutta and then at LV Prasad Institute in Hyderabad. Alpana is an IRMI Research Management Fellow now based at NIBMG in Kalyani. And at NIBMG, Alpana is helping to shape the activities of their research office. Welcome to you, Alpana. Our second speaker for today is Dr. Derin Thomas. And Derin is actually a research manager. She's based at the CDFD in Hyderabad, another DBT institute. Derin received her PhD in radiation biology and then did her postdoctoral research at Stony Brook and at LV Prasad Institute again. So Alpana, Derin, I don't know if you both had any overlap at LV Prasad.
Yes.
Okay, great. Great to see you both now as research manager colleagues as well. So Derin is actually shaping the activities of the research office at CDFD, and we'll hear from her in a bit. Our third speaker for today is Dr. Srujana, who's based at the Vision Research Foundation. And Srujana is actually, she received her PhD from the University of Bremen in Germany. She has a lot of experience, not just in academia, but in industry as well. She is also involved in managing the core research facilities at Vision Research Foundation and the institutional ethics and research subcommittees. Dr. Srujana is going to talk about different activities of the research office at Vision Research Foundation. So on that note, with that introduction, Abdul, please could you play the video for us?
Hello everyone, my name is Alpana Dave and I'm working as a Research Management Fellow at National Institute of Biomedical Genomics. In the next few minutes, I will talk about the early contributions of a research office at our institute. The National Institute of Biomedical Genomics is an autonomous institute of the Department of Biotechnology. We exclusively work on genomics of human health and disease. And the figure on the right shows some of the diseases that we work on, which include cancer, infectious diseases, complex and chronic diseases, and part of the research is also on statistical and computational genomics. So our institute was established in 2010 in Kalyani, which is in the outskirts of Kolkata. We currently have 21 faculty and faculty fellows and more than 70 students. This includes both PhD and IPhD students. We have 47 active projects, which are both national and international collaborative projects. And as a mandate of the Institute, we are involved in capacity building in the area of biomedical genomics. Therefore, we hold regular outreach programs, trainings, and workshops. So before the establishment of research office at NIBMG, This is what the structure was, where the faculty member was the main coordinating point for all the project related queries. They used to directly coordinate with the admin and finance at the institute and also with the director's office. All the project related files were maintained at the admin and finance department. And of course, as I just mentioned, the faculty members used to do direct submissions to the director's office. So with my research management fellowship, the first thing that I wanted to set out to do was to introduce pre-award services. So this would include generating a grant opportunity advice, which is circulated to the faculty members on a regular basis. And the second thing that it would include was to perform due diligence on the proposals which are being submitted from the institute in response to a grant call. The other thing that I wanted to start was post-award management, which would, to begin with, include the sending out automatic reminders of the different reports and extensions which are due, extension requests which are pending, etc. And also to send out regular financial updates about the project so that the funds are utilized appropriately. Apart from this, I also wanted to develop a database of all the previous and the ongoing grants of what their status is, etc. And this would also assist me in assessing the grant success rates at the institute. And last but not the least, I wanted to diversify the funding that we have at the institutes, which would mean that I would be involved in developing collaborations, both academic and industrial, and also to set up a media communication cell at the institute to handle all our outreach programs. So in the past 1 year, with regards to the pre-award services that I wanted to start, we now generate a regular grant opportunity advice, which includes both national and international funding opportunities for our faculty members. Also, if a PI approaches the research office about their intent to submit for a particular grant, we support them, we provide them the information about all the supporting documents which would be required for submission. And before submission, perform due diligence of all the documents which have to be submitted before they are processed for administrative approval. Also, we can, if the PI requests, we can help them coordinate with the other collaborating institute in getting all the necessary documents which are needed for grant submission. So as you can see now, the research office, at least with regards to the pre-award stage, is kind of taking that central role where it is the coordinating point between the director's office and for the faculty members. Now coming to the award stage, which is the stage at which the grant has been recommended, however, it still needs some paperwork to be activated. So we of course assist the PI in preparing these documents for grant activation, which would include collating information from different departments within the institute, and also we can assist the PI to coordinate it with the other collaborating institutes. If you are getting into an agreement or a MOU with a new funding agency or a new collaborator, the research office now performs due diligence on these agreements before they are processed for administrative approvals. Also, we coordinate with the other collaborating institutes in getting these signed by their administrative authorities. Coming to the post-award stage, we have now started maintaining a record of the statutory compliances and clearances which are needed for each project. So this includes assisting in registrations of the committees that we have at the institute, coordinating the meetings, and of course record keeping of which proposals have to go through in the meetings, and also preparing the minutes and the final certificates, etc. Now, as I mentioned, I was also interested in developing like a grants database at the institute, which would have information about all the existing and the previous grants. So this is what we have at the moment in Excel, where I've kept a record of of these different fields, and they are color coded to show the status of each of these grants. Some of them, so this for this I as I'd earlier mentioned that all the project files are in the finance department, so I went through each and every file to collate this information together in this database. So now this serves as a very ready information for any previous project which we have had, or any ongoing project at the institute. And since all the grants are now being all the new grants are being processed through the research office, we are able to maintain this information as well about how many of what grants are being applied from the institute. So this is also a database which we are maintaining again in Excel, and the different fields which we are recording. And this assists us in, of course, knowing the success rates of the grants that are applied from the institute. So also the fun part about recording all the data is that we can perform some analysis on it. So these are just few graphs, which the first one showing the applied grants in the past 2 years from the institute, the new grants that we have received, the top right one, which shows the new grants that we have received in the past couple of years. The bottom left one showing collaborations that we have in our ongoing grants, and also the bottom right one showing the funding landscape at the institute with all the ongoing grants that we have. So apart from the work that I do with regards to my fellowship, there is also other institutional responsibilities that I have, which include preparing institutional reports. So this includes our annual report or information that has to be sent to DBT in the form of reports or presentations, any information which is required for audit, etc. I'm also responsible for managing the social media handles of our institute. So any new event, any new publication or an award, etc. These are of the kind of information that we update. Any new seminar which is coming up, all this information goes on our social media handles. I'm also involved in organizing seminars and institutional events where I play that coordinating role, and also I'm involved in the publicity of the event. And last but not the least, I'm also entrusted with the responsibility of fostering collaborations. So if there are any meetings where with new potential collaborators, I'm involved in those as well. In the past 1 year, we have been able to create processes for efficient management of grants, especially with the pre-award services, and we are slowly introducing post-award services as well. Research office also serves as a reservoir of information, not only for project-related information, but also sometimes institutional information. And also, the small successes are in the queries that we receive from the faculty members. For example, if they have a new idea and then they reach out to us about any potential grant applications which they can apply for. Or sometimes they have an ongoing grant and they are not able to communicate with the funding agency, and they reach out to us to assist them with it. So these small things also, I think, help establish the credibility of the research office. And also, we have started a newsletter for NIBMG. So this was the first issue was launched in August, and we are now working on a second issue. So this is coordinated by the research office, and therefore, apart from publicizing the research which is ongoing at the institute, also emphasizes on the fact that we have a research office at the institute. Now, in the coming few months, I would like to now establish a process document for the research for grant management, and also introduce some of the post-award services that I had mentioned, such as sending financial updates and automatic reminders, etc. And we are also trying to procure a grant management software, which will be which will help us automate all the processes and hopefully make the whole process more error-free and the information more readily available. So overall, the research office at NIBMG is contributing to the research output management in terms of keeping a record of all the publications and contributing to the different reports which are being submitted from the institute. With regards to the technology and patents part, we already have a MOU with Technology Transfer Office, which was facilitated by the research office. So on that front, we help connect the faculty member with the Technology Transfer Office, and they can take it from there. On the research development front, we are assisting the faculty members to secure and manage their funding, also to foster new collaborations with both academic and industry partners, and assist in setting in trainings and workshops and seminars in organizing these events. With that, I would like to thank you for your time and thank IRMI for giving me this opportunity to talk to you about the work that I've been doing on in the past 1 year. This is one of the side views of our institute on a bright sunny day. And with that, I'd like to thank you again, and here are my contact details if you'd like to get in touch with me.
Good afternoon to all. I am Dr. Derin Mary Thomas. I am a research management consultant at Center for DNA Fingerprinting and Diagnostic, Hyderabad. Today, I will be presenting the topic from researcher to research manager, establishing a research management office with vision, initiative, and planning. So I hope it will be useful for the audience in some way. Just very quickly about the institute CDFD for those who don't know. CDFD is a research institute funded by Department of Biotechnology. The mandate of CDFD is to provide services in DNA fingerprinting and genetic disorder diagnosis, as well as to conduct high quality basic research which directly benefits the society. So the uniqueness of CDFD is enhanced by this hybrid model, which mutually benefits the DNA fingerprinting and diagnostic services as well as the research activities. The service activities of CDFD includes human DNA fingerprinting service, basmati rice fingerprinting, and diagnosis of human genetic disorders. Currently, we have 21 research groups doing basic and applied research in the major research areas such as cell and molecular biology, computational biology, disease biology, genetics, immunology, molecular biology. And with this, we have 46 extramural projects with national and international collaborations. Apart from this, CDFD also trains researchers through the training and HRD programs, such as PhD program, postdoctoral fellowships, project and summer training, on-site training for law enforcement personnel and armed force personnel. CDFD is also involved in outreach programs and other workshops. Before I move to today's topic, I will briefly share my career journey so far. My career with the passionate interest to learn biology during my undergraduate and postgraduate program led me to join a PhD program at VIT University, Vellore, where I was trained in the field of radiation biology, which is very close to my heart. And right after my PhD, I joined as a research scientist in an industry called NGP Private Limited. And during this time, I was very fortunate to receive the Indo-US postdoctoral fellowship for a fellowship at the Stony Brook University, New York. I returned back and then continued my postdoctoral journey at LV Prasad Eye Institute, Hyderabad, in molecular genetics. And then I performed quite well and also published well during my research career because I loved the dynamic atmosphere in the lab and also the exchange of ideas while working in the lab. So this time I was also a part of facilitating research by organizing symposias, workshops, and also involved in lab administration. So while I was nearing the end of my postdoctoral program at LVPI, I came across this vacancy at CDFD, and this role appeared to me a perfect fit for my skill set. So I decided to take that first step and become a consultant research manager at CDFD. I was appointed on 1st of October 2021. So today I'll be sharing my experiences and lessons for the past 1 year in establishing a research management office. The Research Management Office at CDFD was established to function as a centralized unit to effectively manage the ongoing extramural research grants and also to support, strengthen, and expand the activities of CDFD. Mainly, the office serves as a strategic bridge between CDFD administrators, CDFD researchers, and also the leaderships. Currently, the office focuses on major areas such as extramural grants management. As we all would agree, the funding process are highly complex with specific requirements from the funding agency and also various interdisciplinary layers. So this complexity increases when with a collaborative research grant with national and international institute. So it was important for the institute to have a well-defined system in place to manage the extramural grants effectively. So the office initiated a process flows and all for pre-award and post-award grants management at CDFD, and the details I'll be sharing in my next slide. Research communication is another major area where the office focuses on because it is always communication is always an integral part of the research. Office has taken steps to make visibility for scientific research at CDFD to the community and also to the general public through digital platforms. These activities are also initiated to create awareness about research and also to bridge the gap between the science and the society. Office also plays a major role in facilitating IPR agreements and also technology transfer for the existing inventions. The RMO office also facilitates interinstitutional collaborations through MOUs, MOAs, and NDA agreements, and also aids in transforming information into policy decisions. The office is also involved in coordinating and facilitating scientific conferences. So here are some tools and processes that are currently under practice at CDFD. So for pre-award grants management, the office helps the researchers in identifying the right funding sources for their research. For this, 2 informational flyers are circulated every month, one for the researchers and one for the scientist. So the name is, or it is entitled as Funding, Fellowship and Network Opportunities for the Research Scholars and Grants, Research Grants and Awards for flyer for the scientist. These flyers give details of national and international fellowships, awards, upcoming conferences, training programs, workshops, and competitions. Secondly, the office established a structured flow for pre-grant documentation for multi-institutional grants. Especially, there was a mega grant for as mission program on pediatric rare genetic disorders. This was the first big grant achievement by RMO, wherein it was received a long-term support for 5 years to identify and diagnosis of pediatric rare genetic disorders. This brings a new area of research to CDFD. This was successfully achieved through a systematic workflow and routine coordination with 15 principal investigators of the project across India. For the post-award grants management, certain tools have been implemented. The post-award tools are completely dedicated to provide timely and professional assistance to the PI throughout every phase of the post-award cycle. This comprises of a systematic monitoring process that includes the activation of the grant, reporting the progress and completing or extension and closeout requirement of the grant. First one is the grant activation tracker. So when the PI receives a grant activation tracker is created, and this has been created for seamless project administration in coordination with all the stakeholders, including the PI, finance, and administration. The grant activation tracker includes the internal project code of the grant allotted by the institute. It includes the name of the project, includes the name of the funding agency, name of the principal investigator, OPI, the grant starting date, completion of the grant, and sanction amount. So this is a very important data for extraction of information for data analytics and also reporting to the CDFD management, DBT, and Ministry of Science and Technology whenever required. The second tool is a grant reporting calendar. This was designed to send timely reminders to the PI to submit their annual progress report. The office also assists the PI to upload the document in the funding agency portal. The third tool is a UC and SE workflow, utilization and statement of expenditure certificate workflow. So a process for timely submission of financial year UC and SOE submission was created in collaboration with our finance and accounts section. So this collates, the office collates the progress report and the financial document of each grant in a timely manner, and this was dispatched to the funding agency on time for subsequent grant release. For grant extension and grant closure, timely reminders will be sent to the PIs and same times reminders will be sent to the finance section for consolidation of all the financial documents and also for the PI for technical project report submission. The office collates the progress report and the financial documents for each grant and dispatch the hard copy of the documents to the funding agency. Additionally, a dispatch tracker is maintained at the office to track the delivery of the documents to the funding agency and also to follow up with the funding agency for subsequent grant release. Here, another important aspect of grants management is to digitize the documents. So the Research Management Office, along with the IT department of CDFD, has initiated developing an in-house centralized information management system. This portal has three sections. One about the basic information about the projects. Second part has the financial details for real-time tracking of the grant by the PIs, and the third section is for archiving the administrative and technical documents. So this portal is currently in its beta phase of development, and hopefully it will be live soon. The major tools under research communication includes publishing of research articles in layman's language through print media to create awareness about the research activities of CDFD. In addition, through digital social media, short write-ups of articles and infographics are published to connect with the wider audience. Apart from these two activities, the Research Management Office is also involved in outreach of multi-institutional grant, which is currently the Pediatric Rare Genetic Disorder grant, to create awareness about rare genetic disorders. The office also coordinates and supports conferences and upcoming symposiums and workshops. Agreements. The office is responsible for facilitating inter-institutional research collaboration and facilitates it by preparing and maintaining agreements and contract in support of research at CDFD. This includes memorandum of agreement with the funding agencies, memorandum of understanding with the organizations, and also non-disclosure agreement with industrial partners, and also creating standard operating procedures for multi-institutional grants, especially for pediatric rare genetic disorders. The intellectual property management at CDFD, the office facilitates new IPR agreements with the PI and Technology Transfer Office, which is the Biotech Consortium India Limited, and also facilitates CDFD's inventions in coordination with the BCIL, and also lies between the inventor, the Technology Transfer Office, and the licensee for technology transfer of agreements. So the challenges and the opportunities for me during the past 1 year, the biggest challenge for me was to set up a research management office from scratch when there was no standard template available. And this was achieved through collaborating with colleagues from other institutes and learning and exchanging the best practices which was already established at their offices. Another big challenge was to create a digital platform for research management. In this, it was important for understanding the requirement of the users and to create a user-friendly platform for the stakeholders, such as the PI, accounts, admin, to track and monitor the grants in real time. So this was achieved with the training for me as a researcher during my research career. And understanding the existing practices and also updating yourself in the changes in the system is also very important and also a learning experience for me. Ultimately, it was a very satisfying experience for me to witness in a facilitatory role how new processes has benefited CDFD and the stakeholders of CDFD to strengthen and expand the research activities. Thank you. Here are my contact details, and I would like to acknowledge the management of CDFD, Dr. Rashna Bandari for mentoring me throughout establishing the Research Management Office, Dr. Vinita Raghavan and team at NCDS Bangalore for sharing their best practices at their office, and also Dr. Ponnari Kotipati for her valuable suggestions whenever I asked it. Thank you so much.
Hello everyone, I am Srujana Chitipothu, working as a scientist and research coordinator at Vision Research Foundation, Shankar Nethralaya in Chennai. Today I am going to briefly discuss the challenges in research management at our institute, a non-profit research organization. Briefly, Shankar Nethralaya is one of the premier ophthalmic hospitals in the country with 6 branches in Tamil Nadu and 4 in other states. Major activities of Shankar Nethralaya, apart from patient care and community service, include research and education. Coming to research, research is majorly conducted under the unit Vision Research Foundation, and we conduct clinical, optometry, basic science, translational and epidemiological research, all related to ocular diseases. A dedicated facility for research called Kamal Nayan Bajaj Institute for Research in Vision and Ophthalmology is located in the main campus of Shankar Nethralaya. Around 17 ophthalmologists, 16 PhD scientists, and around 100 optometrists are keenly involved in research in this institute. Along with them, as on date, 16 PhD students, 800 research fellows, and other master students are conducting research in around 150 ongoing studies. Educational activities in the institute are conducted by 4 units, which are the Elite School of Optometry, conducting optometry courses, the Shankar Nethralaya Academy for paramedical courses, the Postgraduate Ophthalmic Training Center for Ophthalmic Fellows, Vidyasagar Institute in Biomedical Sciences, which coordinates the PhDs in Basic Sciences and Clinical Sciences. The research conducted through all these units greatly contribute to the ophthalmic knowledge by generating successful theses for PhD, DNB, MS Ophthalmology, M Optometry, and MPhil Optometry degrees. Funding for research at our institute is majorly coming from government funding agencies and a little from private funders. A few international funded projects were also conducted. We also received private donations from philanthropists and CSR funds from corporates, but this is rarely for research. Coming to research management at SN, all research activities from the time of inception are guided and supervised by the research director and managed by individual PIs and the accounts office. As you can see, pre-award grant process and external collaborations are completely managed by individual PIs, while institutional ethics committee approvals and regulatory affairs are solely managed by the accounts office. Management of post-award processes and document repositories are shared or combinedly managed by the PIs and the accounts office. Though this chart looked very organized on this slide, this model of management has its own challenges. No standard process for pre-award and post-award technical document flow, ad hoc project management done by the PIs, no central support to principal investigators in latest grant mechanisms, minimal support to the PIs with documents for varied regulatory compliances. PIs are not getting updated information on changing regulatory norms. Information on changing the national and international funding rules is missing. No guided support for pursuing non-government funding, and no central repository for research documents generated over the years. Some challenges are specific to a non-profit organization. Updation on the specific regulatory norms is missing. Liaison with the government administrative offices is a great challenge. Limited knowledge on mechanisms for international fund management and limited funding for research infrastructure. Overall, the challenges we think are because of decentralized research management and no one-point contact for all the research management problems. And this leads to unwarranted delays in project initiations and implementation, affecting the overall research performance of the institute. A small initiative taken by the management a few years back to overcome at least few of these challenges is creating a new role called research coordinator. The research coordinator reports and works directly under the guidance of the research director. I am the research coordinator put into this role a few years back. At that point of time, I was working as a regular scientist, handling my research projects and guiding my students along with some teaching. Before joining Vision Research Foundation, I had worked in a couple of biotech companies, and due to the exposure to the corporate side of managing science, I was chosen to take up the administrative role of research coordination. As research coordinator, I liaise between the PI and accounts office. I help in tracking the project updates, coordinating the IRB documents and meetings, coordinate new collaboration meetings with the other institutes, initiate MOUs and NDAs with collaborators, prepare regulatory documents, the technical part of them, and prepare the proposals for private fundraising. What I do not do, and a greater thing missing, is circulating funding notifications to the PIs, pre-award support, liaise with the funding agencies, post-award support to the PIs, initiate private research fundraising, initiate international collaborations, and pursue international research funding. A couple of years back, the management thought developing a research management tool would help streamline majority of these activities, and so I am also coordinating the development of a research management tool in the organization. The research management tool is called Acumen. It is an internet-based tool developed using SharePoint software, and here is a screenshot of the landing page of the tool, which shows one glance details on the number of proposals submitted, projects that are being handled, publications done by the PIs, and conferences attended by individual PI. The administrator account, which we call the PMO or Project Management Office, has permissions to see information about all the PIs in the organization. Some features of this research management tool include PI profiles, pre-proposals and proposal submission, the IRB flow and ethics committee approvals, funding agency submissions, and then successful grant sanctions, project initiation and resource management, then the project status tracking, both technical and financial, and project database. One glance view of all projects is possible in this tool, along with conference presentations done on a periodic basis and publication submission, making a one-place knowledge repository. The current status of the tool is the development is over. But unfortunately, in the pandemic, the IT services company who helped develop this tool got dissolved, and now we are stuck and looking for solutions for bug fixing, validation, and implementation of this tool. With that details and challenges, we conclude. To conclude, we think that the following actions need to be taken at our institute for efficient research management. As you can see in previous slides, as a research coordinator, I do very limited activities and very important ones are not being done. So establishment of a central research development office is very much needed, which would be a one-stop solution to all the research management problems. Recruitment of experts and training of existing research management personnel like me is utmost needed. Periodic training of scientists in regulatory affairs and translational potentials is also very important. And research management networking, the most important point, which will be a think tank interface for better understanding of funding scenarios, regulatory compliances, and standard research management procedures. And finally, a research management tool. Though we have a tool developed, we need to enhance and evaluate the same for global standards. With that, I would like to thank IRMI for giving me this opportunity and Dr. Savita Ayyar for introducing us to this new area of research management. I'm looking forward to learn a lot from the experts and peers in this network. Thank you all for your patient listening, and here are my contact details. I would like to hear from your comments and suggestions. Thank you all.
Thank you so much, Alpana, Derin, and Srujana, for your talks. It's very inspiring to hear about all your work. It can seem a bit daunting, but then there is also the fun of building something new. So there's always a balance to be struck in that. And it's really nice that you've shared your respective stories. So I thought we could take a couple of questions. So again, a reminder to our attendees, please do put your questions for our speakers in the chat box. And I'll just start off with a couple of questions. So Alpana, I had something to ask you. You know, one of the first things you did, Alpana, was to put together that spreadsheet, the color-coded spreadsheet. You mentioned that the files had been with the account section, and you spent a fair amount of time actually looking through those files, pulling things out. Funnily enough, I remember doing exactly the same thing at NCBS more than a decade ago. So I just thought it would be nice if you could share with our audience what motivated you to set up your own spreadsheet, because I'm sure the finance team would have had their own version of some kind of a data tracker like that, but you obviously felt the need to create your own, something in the research office that is distinct from the finance team's data. Go ahead, Alpana.
So basically, what the finance team was maintaining was very basic information about which had their own code of the project. What is the amount, who's the PI, and what is the amount which is there. But what I was looking for, what is the funding agency, where the money is coming from, when was it sanctioned, when is it getting over, and if there are any collaborating institutes, who are the PIs and the co-PIs, like just to have the wholesome information at one glance. So that is why I thought I'll have to, and even like their database at that time was not completely updated because the people were changing. There were different people who were joining and leaving, and it was a little discontinuous. So then they were very happy to hand over the files to me that, okay, now you have a look. you can just browse through them and go through all the papers which are there. So then I remember going through some of the grants. I could not understand what's happening in this, and then slowly once you keep looking at it, then understand that, yeah, what's the whole game about.
Thank you so much. And now that you have this spreadsheet, no doubt that is a great first step towards any kind of automation where if you have a software package, then you've already got the kind of structure, the kind of information that you'd expect to be able to recreate from a grant management solution, right? So we'll come back to you a little bit about the grant management solution. Have a question for Derin. Derin, can you talk us through, so great talk, by the way. And could you talk us through that large grant? You said the multi-institutional grant, and obviously the research office played a role in coordinating that multi-institutional grant. Two questions there. One is, do you offer that kind of support for other grants through CDFD, or was this a special sort of one-off at this stage? The second part of the question was, what kind of support did you offer with this large grant?
Okay. So for the first question, this was the first grant that was in the pre-sanction stage when I joined CDFD. So in the pre-sanction stage, we had 15 collaborators all over India, and there was no structure to know what is this pre-sanction documents. So I had to go through all the financial concurrence documents and make a process flow. Like, for example, like 15 documents each organization has to provide. And depending upon the organization, if you are working in a private organization, your documents are different from a government organization. So a different set of documents specifically for all the collaborators was prepared. And this was shared and coordinated with them, and this was submitted to DBT. So this helped us in getting the grant on time. So that was the process flow for the multi-institutional grant. And I mean, sorry, I missed your second question.
No, that's fine. So yeah, clearly, I mean, there is a lot of coordination required, and you've also hit upon an important point, which is that different institutions have, different governance structures, different kinds of details, and so in terms of working collaboratively across different institutions, one might need to pursue different kind of paperwork as well. And a research office can play that role. And Srujana, I'm sure you will have a view on that as well. Go ahead. We'd just like to hear about that. Have you been part of any, effort where Vision Research Foundation has collaborated with a different kind of organization, like a government organization? And have you seen any differences in the expectations for a non-profit versus a government organization?
Yes, yeah, thank you, Dr. Savita. I would definitely say that there is a difference because whenever we do collaborative projects with a government organization, the difference comes majorly with the infrastructure. So a non-government organization or a non-profit organization would be very limited or absolutely no budget can be put in for infrastructure like high-end equipments also, while the government setup can. So majority of our collaborations with other government institutes like IIT Madras or Anna University or any other places in Tamil Nadu or IOB in Bangalore. So we have good collaborations with them. So all these are because we don't have the infrastructure, or we are not we are limited in putting up a budget for infrastructure. So I feel that was a major constraint or a challenge to conduct research as a non-profit organization.
Okay, thank you. And I think one question I will ask all three speakers is, you've had your respective journeys. What have you found to be helpful? Because obviously there's a lot of new things to put in place, a lot of conversations to be had. Maybe could you each share a couple of top things that you found helpful in your journeys? Maybe we'll just go with Alpana, Derin, and Srujana in that order, if that's all right.
I think one of the most important things or even thinking about a research office is actually your administrative support. Your senior administration has to support you and believe that this is something which is needed for the institute. Even though ours is a relatively small institute, fewer faculty members, fewer projects that we are handling, but still they think that this is something which is needed so that we can grow and also in long term, like have a software for handling this. Because right now we can still manage it with an Excel, but eventually if the number of projects grow, then if the faculty members increase, it will get really difficult. So yeah, I think institute management and then soft skills, which I think we have been talking about for this whole time. Communication. So yeah, those two things I think.
Thank you, Alpana. Derin, what would you say?
So I would definitely agree with Alpana that she covered the key points for a research office. I would add that it is very important for a research office to understand what is the requirement from the PI and also what is the requirement or what the stakeholders are expecting from you. So a daily interaction with all of them is very important, at least with the PIs, because they have so many concerns about their grant money getting over, or the new thing is, what is the status of your zero balance account with ICICI? When is the money getting released? So there are so many concerns, and you have to continuously connect with your finance office and your administrative section to understand where are we now as an institute. So this is one thing which I thought which is very important. The second thing is they should also understand the role of a research office. As we are in a facilitatory role, that message has to be conveyed to them. So not like a different separate office, not like an alien, but this is just to help the PIs and the other stakeholders for strengthening the research of the institute. So I think that was a major message for me to understand how a research office should function.
The identity of the research office and the research office staff, right? Where do we fit in within the institutional structures? Exactly. So that's
a new setup which was not there in the institute before, and they should understand what is our role.
Yeah. And so we go back to Alpana's point about communication. It's so many different ways, right? Yes. Srujana, over to you.
Yeah, totally agree with all of you over there. For me, yes, the identity is a problem, but I'm still wearing two hats right here. I'm still doing my science and also doing the research management. While I'm getting dragged into research management a lot, which I'm also enjoying. So, but still, like the scientists, it takes time for my colleagues to really identify or recognize me that I'm also put into this research management. So sometimes they get worried, like why she's asking a lot of questions, why so many questions are being asked about my project, like why should I divulge so much information to her. And also, so I agree with Alpana over there. So the senior management and the administration of the institute, they have to put forward that there is a role called research coordinator or a research office, and then this is a strategic decision taken by the management to help out all the PIs. So that's one point which I am facing. Slowly it is getting into all the colleagues when a little bit of organization is being seen now with the development of the tool and also conducting the different meetings and streamlining the project updates. And also, so as the change is being seen, they slowly they're understanding what is happening. But this is totally manageable within the organization. So what I feel like people like me or others, what I feel is at most needed now is training and networking. So I would like I would learn a lot of things only from peers. Like attending this conference is a big eye opener for me, that I could learn a lot of things and then meet a lot of people who are doing similar jobs, and then learn a lot from how to handle these situations and all. So networking, I feel, is very, very important at this point of time, along with training on how to do these jobs better. Yeah,
awesome.
so
Thank you so much. So, Srujana, I'm going to pick up on one of the points, which is the tool that you're developing. I think that's amazing that you're working to putting this tool together from scratch. I think there is a bit of advice from Ambali in the chat box, which you can take a look at later. But I think it's a common question actually to all three of you, which is there's clearly a need to move away from the manual, the Excel sheets, Excel to generate these kind of tools. And I would just request the three of you to just tell me, and we'll go in reverse order this time, Srujana first, Derin, and then Alpana. What do you regard as the key benefits of developing such tools, these digital platforms?
So I feel the first advantage of having this tool is like one place where all the documents are repositored. So there's no decentralization or documents stored in pockets. So proposals are put with individual PIs, and then all the fund related documents are there with the accounts office, and then the publications and other conference details. So all that, the decentralized or information that is stored in different pockets inside the organization, can be brought together with the help of these tools. And then it gives a one glance look about the entire research scenario in the institute, like even for the administrators to do their strategic planning for the next year and all. So it gives one glance look, one glance view of the projects that are there, and then the outcomes of the project, like what is the scenario of funds in the organization. So in that way, in order to avoid like decentralized information and bringing them all together, I think the tools play a major role. And of course the comfort of usage, like this can be, because it's digital era, and then this can be like accessed by everyone, like all the stakeholders and also. So I think it's advantageous in that way.
Thank you so much. Derin, over to you. Also, I wanted to just tease this question a little bit further, that obviously once a grant is awarded, then everybody understands the need for centralized information. But if we start with the pre-award stages, where these are just twinkles, where people might be thinking of submitting or have submitted, variable success rates, what do you think is the benefit of including that kind of information as well in an online tool?
Okay, so for the pre-award, I think it is too early for having a centralized portal, because you have different kind of data. The only, according to me, the only thing that we can add in a pre-award stage is the documents, which about the institute, and other pre-sanctioned documents we can include in the pre-award stage, but not the technical or other documentation part. But coming to the post-award state, if we have a centralized portal, the most important advantage is that the PIs can track their funds and utilize their funds, or they will know the status of their fund under different heads. Am I running out of money, or is it time for me to ask for an extension? So all these things are automated in a grants management portal, and it can be managed very usefully in a portal, if we have a portal. And coming to the kind of documents, administrative documents that we have, as the sanction orders, there are manpower recruitments, and also there are technical reports, annual reports, consolidated UCSC submissions. So all these things can be stored at one place, and from a research management office, one can utilize this from a PI's point of view, or from other stakeholders like finance office. Anybody can view at any point of time all these documents, which are already readily available, and you don't have to ask for this whenever it is required, because these documents are very much required for auditing, and also for sometimes submitting to the funding agencies. So I think these digital management platforms are very important.
Thank you so much, Derin. I'm afraid we're running out of time, but there is a question from Rajshri in the chat box, and I'm going to pose that to Alpana, but request all three speakers. I mean, just do look at the comments, questions in the chat box and put your answers in because I think there are some very interesting and pertinent points there. Question to you, Alpana, is in the early days of your office or role as a research manager, did you feel the need to interact specifically with faculty members or other institutional stakeholders to understand the needs? And we come back to communication of what you bring to the table.
Yes, definitely. So when I started, of course, I did talk to different faculty members because they were curious about what I was doing in the office. So I kind of just had to make them understand of what I'm going to be taking care of. And then slowly, when each time they had to submit, they knew that things had to go through me, things became more easier. With regards to the finance and the admin part, admin, I'm not into it as much. I'm not at all right now. More started off with the finance part. So with them, of course, because it was post-award management, so if there is a query which is coming to me, or I would go out and talk to them. And then slowly, once they saw the kind of work that I was doing, there was some credibility, I think, which was established that, okay, if we hand over things to her, she's not going to lose everything. And we will still get some output back from her. So yes, going out and talking and explaining them things did help, yes.
That's a great answer. Thank you so much. And we've run out of time for this session, but we're going to the next session, which is just maybe a few years forward, possibly from the stage that you are at. So do stay back for the conversation. And I think we will have more time for the question and answers and interactions after the second session. So in a way, we can actually consolidate all of the points. So again, to the audience, please continue posting your questions and comments into the chat box. And speakers, I think keep that conversation going in the chat box. So thank you so much, Alpana, Derin, and Srujana, and stay around while we pick up on the next set of conversations.